Oh, there's William over there. Hello, Will. Now I've seen you 4 times since we've been here.
Come and have it.
Yeah. You're almost like a visiting guest.
Let's go back to lunch.
In the news this morning, 1 person is dead, another injured in a head-on collision in Cobb County. That's our top story. It happened last night near the entrance to Kennesaw Mountain. Police say the driver of a van steered directly into the path of an oncoming car. The driver of that car was killed. The driver of the van was taken to Keystone Hospital. That's where Channel 2's Dale Cardwell joins us live. Good morning, Dale.
Good morning, Warren. 1 man is dead, another man fighting for his life at this very moment in emergency surgery here at Keystone Hospital. 35.
On Sunday, October the 13th, William's grandmother died that Sunday afternoon, and William had left his bag at the ball field and he wanted to go back and get it, and it was 9:30 at night and we were concerned about him going back to the park alone, and I told him I didn't really want him to go back. About midnight, he still wasn't home, and we were really upset, trying to decide where he had gone. We thought maybe he'd gone to a friend's house. Maybe he was more upset about his grandmother than even we had realized, and he'd gone to a friend's house to have somebody to talk to. So we were really concerned. We knew something wasn't right, but then we just couldn't figure out.
William was still in his vehicle when I arrived at the scene. His vehicle had been burnt from a frontal collision. Once we cleaned the scene up and cleared the scene up, it took me about an hour and a half or so to determine who William was and find out where he lived. As a lot of the information that I would have normally had available to me was burned up in this collision.
I heard the doorbell ringing, and it was so late that I knew William never rang the doorbell. And when I heard the doorbell ring, I was just immediately standing at the door, and I realized there were police officers there, 3 of them. And I opened the door, and they asked if that's where William lived. And I said yes. And he said, "Are you his mother?" And I said, "Yes, what's wrong?"
We responded to the Riches residence at about 2:30 in the morning, and then I had the task of knocking on the door and delivering the worst news that I think a parent could probably ever imagine getting. If you can imagine standing on the doorstep waiting for someone to get out of bed and come downstairs, and the whole time you try to figure out what you're going to say and what's the best way to say it, and no two are alike. The Riches came to the door, and I stepped inside and I delivered the news.
And so they asked us to sit on the sofa, and the police officer said, "William's been in an accident." And all common sense in the world would tell me that if they're telling me that William's been in an accident and there's 3 officers here, that it's not good. But I had to ask. I said, "Is he okay?" And the officer said, "No, he's not. He's dead." I rubbed his chest and I kissed it, like it would make it better. And then it was so strange, I just wanted to rub his hands and feet, and kind of like the day he was born, I had rubbed his hands and feet and counted his fingers and toes, and I did that the day he died. we didn't get to tell William goodbye. We didn't get to tell him that we loved him. And I want to make sure that I let my children know now that I love them. When I speak to my other children now on the phone, the last thing I tell them before we hang up is, I love you. I find myself telling my friends that I love them.
The other children, William's brothers and sisters, have this on their mind at times. It sometimes clouds that mood which you are in because there's memories that come in, Christmas holidays or something in that respect, they flood back. And as those memories flood back, it changes the lifestyle.
William's friends have been so supportive, and they continue to be in contact with us. And they've related many, many stories to me over these months about their grief.
We talked about everything. I mean, when we were talking on the phone, it would be hours at a time, and there was never an uncomfortable silence. I think that's probably what I'm gonna miss most about him, because I find myself sometimes picking up the phone to call him. You know, if I'm having a bad day, I'll pick up the phone and have to tell myself, you can't call him. You know, and I still do that. I did it 2 weeks ago.
And when your best friend dies, it's, you know, like you just went with them, you know, you're missing something in your life that's not there anymore. And, you know, it's real hard to, you know, just take it and go the rest of my life, because, you know, because I don't have my companion that I always had there with me. You know, he's gone now, and there's nothing I can do about it, you know, except for learn how to deal with, you know, the situation as is. It's been a year and a half now, and it hasn't changed. I've learned to deal with it, and I can't really give any advice on how to deal with it. It's something you're just going to have to learn how to do.
I was a good friend of William's. We spent a lot of time together. I considered us good friends, and I miss him a lot. The day that he died was really hard on me. He's not there to call anymore, to go out with, or anything like that.
He got into Little League at one time, and I was working with him to play catch so that he could catch the ball. And these were times that I look back on and remember. They're, you know, the father-son, gosh, you can do it, don't worry about it, you missed it, we'll work it out as we go along.
Hi, I'm Ray Buchanan with the Atlanta Falcons, and here's my message to you. Remember that you're the future. We need you, you are important, and your life is important. Your parents care, your teachers care, and I care about you. I understand the peer pressure that you experience in school. I did too. Stand up for what you believe. Don't let your guard down. Don't be a statistic. Nationally, over 17,000 lives are lost to alcohol and drug-related crashes. Protect yourself and your family from broken hearts.
You're going to be challenged a lot. You're going to have to make the right decision. I hope you make the right decision at this time of year and not drink and drive.
The Atlanta Falcons care about you. Don't drink and drive.
This is Pete Babcock with the Atlanta Hawks. Just want you to understand that you all have a great miracle inside of you, and that's your ability to use your mind. And that miracle can be taken away when you do anything artificial to your body. Any type of substance abuse tragically alters the course of your history, really, and your future. So you need to make good decisions for yourself. That ability you have to use your mind can let you accomplish great things in your lives if you don't alter that process. There are billions of brain cells that are working for you every day to allow you to do great things with your mind and recalling the past and evaluating the present and dreaming about the future.
If you're not wanting to go to jail, then don't do it.
And I have absolutely no qualms, as I said, about going in and asking for someone to go to the state penitentiary at age 16, 17, 18 years old. But it's very hard for me to try to explain to a victim's family, this is what we're going to do, these are the possible outcomes. And you know by looking at them that they want the person to go to jail, they want to send a message to society, they want to make sure that person's off the streets and that defendant never hurts anyone again.
One of the things that they cautioned us about was once the sentence was handed down, if it was in what they referred to as our favor, that we should not applaud or cheer or make any gestures because the judge really frowned on that kind of thing. And I told them that I didn't think that would be a problem because we didn't feel like that there would be any winners, that we were all losers.
From the time the telephone rings, a police officer in my task, the emotions began to run. It's not possible to maintain the ironclad or the very stiff or rigid image that people have of police officers sometimes, whether you show that on the outside or not. Police officers are human, and although the case didn't affect a member of my family, it does affect members of my family because it affects me and it affects the other police officers.
Everybody realizes when they choose to drink or do drugs and get behind the wheel of a car that it's not just the person they kill, it's not just them, it's everybody else that's involved. Boyfriends, girlfriends, relatives, they're all the people that have to deal with it and all the people that always wonder if there's something they could have done to prevent it. And it's hard. It's hard for us, and it's especially hard for those folks that are involved. Hard to watch them go through it. It's hard for them to pull each other through it. Some of those folks never recover. We see them a year or 2 years later. They're still upset because they've lost their son or their daughter. Or in the alternative, you run into a defendant's family somewhere and they start talking to you and they talk about how it's just changed their whole life, how they can't stand to go out in public because they can't stand to run into the family that their child took a member of, that their son or daughter made an irresponsible decision and went out and took the life of another child or another grown-up. And they don't want to go anywhere they might run into that family and have to face it because they know it was wrong. I think that's the worst part.
And I've seen the hurt in our people's face. I've seen the tears. I've seen the anguish that they're carrying with them. And talking about it oftentimes helps. They'll carry it with them from now on, but when we can help them a little bit, it's worth it. And these people they're your neighbors. They're the people you go to church with on Sunday. They're the people that you meet in the shopping centers every day when they're off duty. But when they put that uniform on, they have seen so much hurt. They've seen so much pain, and it affects them. I was telling them earlier, I had an incident working where a child on a bicycle was killed by a drunk driver. It didn't really bother me. The next morning I went home, my children were the same age, so I locked their bicycles up where they couldn't ride their bicycles. It's very real to us. And that was my way at the time of dealing with the hurt and the pain and the suffering I had.
Also, a lot of times the families of the defendants, you get their parents, their aunts, their uncles, or grandparents, all seem to be nice people. They haven't done anything wrong, but yet they have to come in and watch a member of their family not only be tried and convicted for what they've done, but be put in prison for it. And it takes a person away from their family. Rightfully so, but most of the damage is done to the family. The damage is not done to the defendant. He'll do his prison time, he'll come back out, everything will go back to normal, and the family of the victim will never get the person they've lost back. The family of the defendant will never be the same. Their name will always be associated with the killing of another person. Their feelings towards the defendant, their feelings towards each other will never be the same because inevitably they end up taking sides.
As the situation carries on, we interview witnesses, and I see the emotional effects that it has on witnesses. Most people don't ever witness or don't ever have the unfortunate opportunity to witness something as this wreck or any of the collisions that are of this magnitude. And in this particular case, even the witnesses were devastated, and they saw a horrific collision that claimed someone's life. To add to that, it's not just Williams' family. I saw them, I saw what they went through, the siblings and the relatives, the parents, and so on. But there was another party involved in this crash. The gentleman that caused this accident, his family was devastated as well. His life was certainly devastated, although it was spared in the collision. His family has been completely torn apart. I witnessed that on several occasions, and it was obvious that the actions that took place didn't just destroy Mr. and Mrs. Rich's family. It completely destroyed the other party's family as well.
When we ride by a certain tree, I've got one over in West Cobb. I can remember the individual I helped cut out of that car. The tragedy of this is it scars us for life. It came very prevalent after Vietnam when the young men came home from there. The scars they were bringing with them were causing real problems. They were having problems with drugs, with alcohol, and related factors, strictly trying to deal with the trauma emotionally they experienced. So we've learned now that if someone with a little training such as myself, and we've got about 10 others with the department, go in and sit down and begin to address the mental anguish our people face, that it helps heal them somewhat. But it's still very traumatic for our people when they have to cut the little children out of the cars or when they have to cut the adults out. That tragically, for no reason, their life was stopped right there because someone chose to drink an extra beer or take another drink before they left the party. And now we're carrying the scars within us. And it's very traumatic to deal with.
Hi, I'm Steve Smith, guard for the Atlanta Hawks. I definitely want to send this message to all the kids who are thinking about drinking and driving. Definitely the percentages say it's not good for you, and also the results are not good for you. So the biggest word in that thing is to think before you drink, and also to think before you drink and drive.
When I found out that Will had died, I was at work, and it had to have been the most horriblest time of my life. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. All I could think was it was one big joke, and I just wanted him to come back. When you drink and you drive and you do things and drive and you know that you're messed up, that it can happen and that I'm not invincible just because I'm a teenager.
If there's something he could say, it would probably be, Will never dies. He told me that 3 weeks before he died. And we just were talking about death a lot, you know, and he was asking me what I would do if he died. And I said, well, I would cry, you know, and he'd be like, I don't understand why, because I'll never die, you know. I think he's watching out over all of his friends and his family, and sometimes I feel him. And those times I can't cry, you know, I'm peaceful, but sometimes, you know, it just gets too hard, but I don't think he wants us to hurt for him. because like he said, Will never dies.
This program is put forth out of love for William, out of the tragedy that did occur, and out of this particular tragedy, we are trying to help keep other families from having the broken hearts, the devastation that we have gone through, his brothers and sisters have gone through.
If William can hear me, with War Against Broken Hearts, I'm doing this in his memory and for the memory of all those young people that have died at the hands of a DUI offender. I would tell William that I am going to make it right, that it is going to be all right, because we are going to make a difference.
I'm Maurice Haskins, president of Haskins Communications. When Martha and Bill Rich asked us to assist with the development of this program, we did on the belief that War Against Broken Hearts is a great cause. But as a parent, I never realized the impact that this program would have on me. Losing someone you love is devastating. I just hope that this video opens your eyes to not only the obvious dangers of drinking, drugs, and driving, but also to the lifetime of emotional pain that will be experienced by your families, friends, and the community. Be safe, be careful, and be smart.
The last truly pleasant thing that William and I got to share with each other was a yellow rose. The day before William died, I was doing some weeding in my rose garden, and there had been one beautiful yellow rose blooming all week. It was October, so it was a little late for a rose to bloom, but I had noticed it from a distance all week. But with each handful of weeds I pulled, a few petals would fall from the rose. I took a closer look to see if I could gently pick the rose and save some of its beauty for another day, but it was too fragile. The last of the petals dropped off as I continued to tug at the weeds. William made a trip to his car for something, and when he passed me on his way back to the house, he asked if I'd picked the rose. I told him no, it had bloomed its life away all week and now it was gone. He kept walking, but I remember I just sat there for a minute and thought about how William always noticed the roses, and sometimes he would ask me if he could pick one. I'll always remember William every time I see a yellow rose.